Hi, my name is Vanessa Vink from vanessavink.com, and I call myself a personal energizer. So in my practice, I do readings and healings, whether it's with you coming here to my practice or online. And basically the thing that my main goal is to help you gain back your autonomy. In my opinion, you are capable of way more than you think, but there's just some, as I call it, proverbial dust on it. So what I would like to do with this video is to help you with this so that you can maybe see what more is capable for you, because I think you have way more potential than you maybe know now. So this information was also published in an article. Since I want to be a little bit similar to what I said in the article, I have my little cheat sheet over here. Don't tell anybody, but I want it to be the same. So bear with me, and here we go. I called the article Blinded by Clairvoyancy. So when talking about paranormal gifts, clairvoyancy is often mentioned. But is that covering it all? Nah, absolutely not. Information can be received in various ways. So when specific information, let's say about somebody else, is not being hatched up with your own or somebody else's mind, then it might be possible that the information comes through via a different channel. So a channel invisible for the naked eye, of which is not necessarily evident where the information comes from, it's called intuition. There are many channels for this clear way of gathering information, and I love to sum them all up, and in random order, by the way, and I will explain why it is so important to give the other information, the other forms of clairs, as I call it, attention. So I can name 10 different ones, and when you will Google it, you will probably find 5, 6, 7, maybe 8, but in my opinion there are 10. So here goes. First I will mention the 5 sensory ways of obtaining information. So the first one is clairvoyancy. So this is clair seeing. It is a term that is most commonly known, and it means that you see images with your mind's eye, also known as your third eye, which is situated here above your eyes, right above your eyebrows. Working with this clair often happens with the eyes closed. So there are various ways: looking into the future, reading the past, or giving clarity about the present. So then the second one is clairsentience. So this is clear physical feeling. It's used when somebody receives information about somebody else by feeling it themselves. So this way of receiving information helps to feel at what spot the physical or mental pain is in order to gain more information. Then you have clairaudience. So that's clear hearing. It's when you hear sounds that the normal ear cannot hear. So you can hear, for example, words or noise. It is when that voice tells you to stop when there is a dangerous situation, for example. But you're also clairaudient when you have a great rhythm and have a sense of music, or when you can hear if somebody is lying by just listening to his or her voice. So then you have clairgustance, if I pronounce it correctly. So that's clear tasting. That's when your sense of taste picks up information without literally having something in your mouth. So this information might be about a deceased person who passed on information about what he or she liked to eat or drink. And it can even help in homicides, like when you're tasting drugs or blood or something. Then you have, the fifth one is clairsalience, if I pronounce it correctly. It's clear smelling. And that's when the information comes through smelling something that's not physically there. So the scent can refer to, for example, a human or an animal or a place. So you can, for example, all of a sudden smell the perfume of your deceased grandmother when she's trying to tell you something? When that happens, just take a moment and try to understand the message in whatever form it comes. So these clairs mentioned can be traced back to the senses, right? But there are more ways to pick up information, and I find these ways just as important as the other ones. So the other ones are the following. The sixth one is Cognizance. So that's clear knowing. And I always, of course I'm Dutch, so I gave it a Dutch word. I call it poof thoughts. It just poofs into my head. Well, actually, I call it in Dutch vloep, but that really doesn't sound in English, so let's call it poof in English. So those are the things that you all of a sudden very certainly know, even without thinking about it with your mind. So the stream of information, in my experience, comes from above, poof, inside your head, right? So without any emotions or empathic feelings, it's just there. And you know from the deepest of your being that it's true. Then you have clear empathy, clear emotional feeling. So that's when you're able to pick up somebody else's emotion, thoughts or symptoms very clearly. So if you do not actually feel it, like with clairsentience, but you're able to pick up on the information. If you would not clear all those emotions, by the way, of others from your energy system, you will carry it around all the time. That's just a side note. Then we have the eighth one is clear tangents, so clear touching is when you touch somebody or something and then receive a message. It can come through as an image or a feeling or a sound or whatever, but it has started with touching something. The ninth one, it's probably not a mainstream word, but I call it clear dreaming. So in my opinion, it's a very important way of receiving information. These kinds of dreams are way clearer than the everyday dreams in which we, cope with the things we have experienced during the day. Do you remember maybe the TV series Medium? This was based on a real story, and the main character received exact information about murders, but in her dreams. She saw it happening from the killer's point of view. So that's an example. And then the 10th one, I would like to mention channeling and being a medium. So channeling is receiving information from your higher self or from your team of guides and guardian angels. Yes, we all have that. Or from spirit or from angels or whoever wants to come and play. Some people are being taken over by such a messenger. For example, Esther Hicks, who does this with Abraham, or Cryon. But it can very well be that you feel the need to say words that you would not say for yourself without turning yourself off. Let's call it that. So automatic writing is also a way of channeling. And a medium does the same thing, but receives the information via the souls of deceased. So who used to live on Earth as a human or an animal. So those are a lot of ways of receiving information, right? And I did not even talk about receiving information with the use of objects like a biotensor. This, for example, is my biotensor. I use it with sessions, amongst others. And so she can't help it, she told me. And this is different from a pendula, which you can also use, because a biotensor is a combination of a dowsing rod and a pendula, and it can even treat. So it's more powerful. But you can use objects also to obtain information. Technically, in my opinion, everybody is able to use these forms of information gathering. Most people, unfortunately, have this proverbial dust on it, as I call it. And my dust is off. I have all these clairs and some more than others. So what I use most in sessions with clients is clear knowing, so the poof thoughts, the clairsentience and the clairvoyancy and being a channel and a medium. So I could give you examples, but we would go on forever, so that's not what I'm doing here. The message I wish to give you is far more important than the examples. So I summed up all the clairs for you to show you that you also have one or more of these ways. I'm sure of it. But it can happen that people tend to look in the wrong places. For example, when you're trying really hard to receive a message in a physical form by a deceased person, but you dismiss the information given to you by him or her in a dream. So that's a pity. I have also heard another case once. One of the students of an intuitive school was told that she needed to obtain her information from her clairvoyancy. But she was so much more clairsentience. So that's working with your second chakra. And she became really insecure that she needed to do it from another level. But she got the same information anyway. So I, in the end, advised her to just tell them, I see, and mean, I feel. And it was okay. She finished her reading school, and she's an amazing reader now. So it all turned out fine. But the thing is, please find out what your way of receiving information is, now that you're familiar with the different forms. Develop what you have, and do not get blinded by something that you happen to have heard more about. You know, the grass is sometimes greener at the neighbors, they say, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe your grass is way greener than you know. And that is so awesome when you work with that. Don't look at others, find your own way, okay? And I would love to help you if you can't figure out what way it is. So I would love to uncover that dust, or get rid of that dust to uncover your potential. So you know where to find me if you feel that this resonates and you would like to proceed. For the rest, I hope that you have got to learn a bit more about you and how your way of working with all these clairs is. Thank you for listening. Bye.